essentially, I'm the head of BIM for COLT DCS, so I manage a team of 4 BIM managers at the minute and 3 document controllers across 4 regions. So as you can see, that's where we work at the minute: Japan, India, UK, Germany and France. Unfortunately not in Sweden at the minute, but hopefully in the future. We manage the platform of BIM 360, and due to start our first ACC project hopefully next month. So a big part of my job is looking into R&D and how we improve the ways that we work and deliver projects at COLT, manage the digital strategy. The team produces most of our BIM 360 guidance, so we tailor our own documentation to our teams. Some of the stuff on Autodesk, the training documents are really good, but we have a specific way of working, so we try and make sure that everybody understands that. Processes, procedures and documentation. And then the team manages platform training, as I mentioned before. So we cover that in a multitude of ways because people learn in different ways. So that's another, I think, key point to collaboration. Everybody's different. Some people learn from me presenting to you. Other people learn from watching videos. Other people learn from doing. So having a mix is important. So here we are. Oh, that's moving now. Interesting. So this is who we are, COLT. So we work in the regions that I mentioned. Currently we have another DC in Rotterdam as well. The way that COLT work is we build, own and operate our data centers. So we buy the land, we design them, we build them and then we operate them. So slight different model to a lot of data center providers. We have 14 state-of-the-art data centers that are up and running at the minute, with many more in design and construction phase. COLT have approximately 25 years in industry experience in terms of data center services. We also have our other arm that do telecoms that have been around a lot longer. We provide colo and hyperscale solutions. If you want to know about them, I'm the wrong person to ask. But we basically mainly manage the hyperscale side of things now. So building data centers from approximately 40 megawatt upwards, which are pretty big buildings. We operate by hiring a delivery team to support the COLT team from inception to completion. So this is design teams, contractors, client's design representative, which are people who review the design, health and safety external team, and so on and so on. So we have quite a large external team as well as a COLT team. So this is why, hopefully you'll see later on in the slides, why using BIM 360 is pretty important. I don't know why it moved and then now it's not. So yep, quick overview on the Autodesk Cloud solutions and why we're using BIM 360. So, sorry, this is not moving with it. So yeah, BIM 360. So COLT use BIM 360 as a main data repository for all our projects. So we use it from, as I mentioned, the inception phase all the way over to in use. So our operations team are also using it to a degree. We mainly use it for what you can see on the screen. So storing documents, reviewing documents, communications in terms of transmittals, meetings, sharing information. Put live model coordination in quotes because it's as live as you can get it, using design collaboration. Same with working on documents, thanks to some of the features in BIM 360 with Office documents like Excel, SharePoint and stuff like that, where you can work on it collaboratively. Meetings via the meeting minutes module, RFIs, change requests, cost plans and programs, out in the field activities, so using your device out on site to access BIM 360. Quality, health and safety monitoring, and assets module for operations and maintenance, which are where I think we really have a good solution at COLT to tackle all of those. So obviously BIM 360 and having one CDE and one source of truth is the dream of where we want to get to at COLT. But at the minute, like a lot of companies, we have about 5 solutions to deliver everything, but 90% of what we do is on BIM 360. The rest, we have a separate system for payments, one for facilities management. Obviously BIM 360 doesn't do that at the minute, and they have a different platform for that, which we don't use just yet. And then health and safety incidents on site are logged on a different system as well. So most of what we do delivery-wise is on BIM 360. So just a very quick overview of why we use BIM 360 as a client. Maybe something I didn't explain before, but as COLT, we are essentially the client to the rest of the team. So it's important for us because we own and manage the platform. So we own and control the data, which is obviously important to a lot of clients. It means we can control it from a security and access management point of view. We cover most of the areas of the project lifecycle within BIM 360 because of the amount of modules and what it actually covers. The functionality and features are really good, and they lend itself well to construction companies and clients like ourselves. It enables collaboration across COLT and its external teams, so not only externally but also internally. We have people who work all over the world, as you can imagine, so it makes it easier from that side of things, and we centrally manage, monitor and report on all projects on BIM 360, so not only at project level, but we also use it to help us report at a company level and to our board of directors. So hopefully that makes sense so far. Apologies with the issues with slides, but yeah, there we go. So why are we talking about BIM 360 and not ACC? So we've gone through quite an extensive review period process to see if ACC is fit for purpose for COLT. What's changed, what Autodesk say they should have done and what they have done. So we've done quite a bit of analysis on what's actually been updated in the system, which luckily is quite a lot of stuff actually. It's nice to see that Autodesk are really responding to clients and contractors moving forward. So we're looking hopefully that we'll start using that as of next month. So this is why I'm talking to you about BIM 360 and not ACC. But hopefully if I present again next time, I'll be talking about ACC. Just bad timing. So what do we use in when we talk about BIM 360? So currently COLT, everything you can see on the right covered by green is what we use. The only thing we don't use that's shown in that image is insights, because Power BI is better. You know, it's more customizable. We can put whatever KPIs we want on it and we can use it for that. So that's what we use it for. The only other modules that aren't shown on that snapshot that we aren't currently using is a cost module, which our team in Japan are doing a bit of analysis on to see if we can use that, which hopefully we can, which would be good. Model coordination, because when it first came out, is a little bit too basic for us. But we are working with the guys at Symmetry to look into how we can better utilize that in line with how you would with Navisworks to do with clash sets and search sets and stuff like that, which we're quite optimistic that maybe we can start using that going forward. And then, as I mentioned, Insights replace with Power BI because it's better. So, obviously, I'm talking to you today about collaboration, so hopefully this is a nice switch up from the presentation so far on sustainability, which seems to be a big figure, which is obviously important. But as we're talking about collaboration, the 4 key pillars of collaboration for COLT are people, processes, systems, and locations. So I put people first because one thing that we talked about a lot today is tech and solutions, but the heart of collaboration and working together and moving forward is every one of you in this room and everybody else on the call, and working together to improve the way that we deliver projects. So people are the key. Hopefully I'm doing all right for time. So key to collaboration. So one of the other presenters stole my idea of doing a dictionary definition, but what we want to go for is the action of working with someone or organisations to produce something. We don't want traitorous cooperation with an enemy. So what we're aiming for with collaboration here is exactly that, is working together. So as you can see on the image on the right, and what I explained earlier, people are the most important. Systems, also obviously very important. BIM 360 ACC. You can't work well with companies in this day and age without a good digital platform. It's impossible, especially on projects the size of COLT's, where we have upwards of 1,000 people across each project at peak times, especially when the site's up and running and live in construction. The third one, obviously processes and procedures. You need to get these right to run your projects well. So if you have bad processes and procedures, the chances are it's not going to go too well. And then location is also important to consider if you are a large business. So the nuances in the project location, the way people work differently, different cultures. So obviously people here from a different background to me, and the way you work here may be a little bit different to the way we work in the UK. Very different to in Japan. For example, they're one of the locations where it is a little bit more tricky. And all these aspects can impact on collaboration and how you effectively collaborate with companies. So I'll just move on again. Hopefully I'm doing all right for time. Oop. Sorry about that. So, at COLT, we try not to just talk about collaboration. We try to lead by example. I'm sure some other slides have gone through these topics, but one thing that's really important is to lead by example. So our senior leadership are committed to a collaborative approach and working with our teams to solve problems rather than create them. We encourage honesty. I believe we work in a very dishonest industry where we probably lie to clients and contractors lie to us and the subcontractors lie to them instead of having an open, honest conversation about where we're at with program, where we're at with the project, how things are going. So at COLT, we try to encourage that by not penalising our companies who work with us if there are issues. So that doesn't help anyone. We offer the opportunity to provide feedback, so we do that in a few different ways, touch upon in a minute. We offer feedback ourselves so that they know what COLT expects and how they're getting on, provide clear expectations, and conduct collaborative sessions to make sure that we're working well and effectively as a team. So what I'm going to start to do now is just take you through the 4 key things. So as I mentioned before, people are key. There's a few key aspects to get a team to collaborate effectively on a project and look to adopt technology such as BIM 360 and ACC. So one of these is involving the right people, teams and companies. So as a client, we do this by when we engage with tenders and bidders and making sure that they understand what we require in terms of collaboration and from BIM 360 and how we expect them to use the system. We try and achieve buy-in from stage 1, especially of using BIM 360. Establish a common goal and a one-team ethos, so we're all trying to deliver and achieve the same goal, and we own it in that way, so it's not just us delivering the project for our clients, it's them delivering it for us, and everybody trying to deliver a successful project. Successful project, happy people. Unsuccessful project, everybody's miserable. So we want to encourage that by encouraging collaborative behaviour. We try to engage with all our consultants to see if there are any issues with, for example, using BIM 360. Willingness to collaborate and adopt the platform. So it's obviously important to COLT that we work with partners who are prepared to use it, as we do mandate it, which, to be honest, a lot of the partners that we work with are, which is good. And then the final one, which I've probably touched upon a little bit already, is reducing the blame game. So it's not one person's fault if a decision was made and it was made wrongly. It's how we react to that issue and look to solve it as a team, which I think, again, the industry could work on when it comes to change and problems. So, just moving forward. So, involving the right people in achieving buy-in. So how do we do that? So, as mentioned a little bit before, tender process, willing to collaborate, vendor management, scoring and partnership, one team approach are all key aspects to that. So something we do is we score all our vendors on how they performed on the project. Part of that is, as you may just be able to see on the slideshow, is BIM 360, and environmental and sustainability is also on there, which is a hot topic. So yeah, for us, obviously, we want to know how people are using BIM 360 and how they're performing with it. So these also feed into future tenders and stuff like that. So if people are using it well, chances are they might be more likely to win a future project. If they're not, then we look to not exclude them from it, but look to find out the reasons why they were struggling with using the platform or what's gone on. Even buy-ins, so we do that by selecting those that see the overall goal. It's quite easy to do, to be honest, in tender responses and interviews and stuff like that we do at early stages to kind of understand, you know, whether teams are willing to use BIM 360. And as we're, like I said on the slide, we've been around about 25 years, but I still think COLT are quite a new business to the game. So we try and partner with companies that want to go on the journey with us and they want to improve their digital strategy. and they want to innovate. I know that word's been thrown about a lot today, but teams who want to go with us on that journey is really important to COLT. We're looking for time. I think we're about over time, aren't we? I might skip through these a little bit because, yeah, I just realised we're struggling for time a little bit. And to be honest, I've touched on quite a lot of this already, so I'm just going to jump over to the systems part and move forward a little bit. I'm sure we can probably share these slides afterwards, so if people want to read through them, they can do. Systems, so choosing the right one for your organisation. I'm not here to stand and sell your Autodesk products because maybe BIM 360 is not the one for you. It might not be, it might be. So choosing the correct company platform to store most of your project on is vitally important. At COLT, we choose BIM 360 as our CDR because of the following reasons. It's an end-to-end solution for us, so we can keep everything in one platform. So single source of truth, I'm sure you've all heard that word bandied about, well, phrase bandied about a lot. Less platforms, easier to manage, easier to train people is a good one. All the published information for our projects is in one place, so we start on the projects on BIM 360 very, very early. So basically when we're looking to buy land is when we start the projects. Talked about we control it, and we can add whoever we want to it. We have unlimited licenses, luckily, with our agreement at the minute, so that really helps with us because, like I said, we sometimes have 1,000 people on projects, so we need that. If you don't need that, then maybe it's not the right solution for you, or yeah, maybe it is. We can share whatever we want to whoever we want, so we don't need to use external systems to share documentation. We can privatize it, we can communicate better with it, we can work together on it both internally and externally, and we can work together to improve it, which is a very important last one, I think, to note. So the good thing is we collaborate quite well with our teams to do that. So in terms of that communication, I'm just going to go a little bit of an overview of, I'll try to speed this up because yeah, I appreciate we're a little bit behind time. We can communicate better with it. There's always different ways of communicating. One thing I like to stress, technology should not replace communication. If you need to talk to someone about something, pick up a phone and talk to them or go see them in person. Always the first port of call. But with BIM 360, what you get is a record of your communication, which is a key, especially in certain circumstances. So, for example, what I've showed on here is the transmittals at the top. Why they're really important and a good feature on BIM 360 is because they are a record of that correspondence. So, for example, if you need to send a legal related communication, so in the UK we have contracts such as FIDIC. So in FIDIC you have to respond to or send formal communications. So the way we've used transmittals is by doing that. So sending the formal communication directly to the company. So just attach the PDF, send the transmittal, say, we're sending you this for this reason under this contract clause. So it's shown, it's a record, there's no arguments, and it's simple and easy. And then at the bottom, meeting minutes. So again, you can log and record all your meeting minutes. Some really nice features in there to assign to people, track and trace how the overall meeting minutes are going, and respond to it within the system. ACC's got some now nice new features where it links to stuff like Office, so your calendar and things like that. So it's becoming quite a nice little feature on BIM 360. How am I doing for time? I'm still all right. I know I'm a bit over. Sorry guys, I'm sure you all want to go off and get to lunch. We can work together on it both internally and externally, as I mentioned before. So I'm sure you can read through all the notes, but as you can see at COLT, generally over the last year or more, it'd been nice if Michael got me some statistics for this year. But as you can see, generally trending is upwards of how we're using BIM 360. So you can see that not only internally but externally, the adoption of the platform internally is really starting to kick off at COLT, which is great. And I'll just show you this next slide so you can kind of get an idea of that. So we can work together to improve BIM 360. So how do we do that? COLT, Symmetry and Autodesk, we quite regularly have sessions to talk about what's working well, what's not working well with BIM 360. We also do feedback sessions from the teams internally to get the feedback, not only from COLT teams, but also the external consultants that we work with. So it's vitally important the system works for us as much as it does for them. So we do lessons learned at project gateways. We raise issues directly through the system, or I take them to Michael or John, who's sat at the back. Project meetings, again, if anything gets raised, we try to bring that up with Autodesk and Symmetry. And another way we can work together to improve it is get more people using it. The more people use it, the more ideas you get of how it could work better. So we can feed them back as well to Autodesk and Symmetry and try to enact some change. So one thing on ACC that we have seen is there's this change coming, and I think they're starting to listen to us a lot more about features and stuff like that. So processes and procedures. So getting the right processes and procedures in place to execute projects effectively. So some of the stuff we talked over already, we use them for project reviews, so design reviews, documentation reviews and stuff like that. Meetings, live model sharing and coordination. So we use the model coordination feature on all our projects, mainly in Europe, where it's heavily adopted. In Japan, they have different software, so it's a little bit more tricky. So it's interesting to see the presentations before about how they're using Forge for Tekla, so maybe it's something we need to talk about later at some point, John. Commissioning and assets, which real nice workflow in BIM 360 where you can create all your checklists for your commissioning, link them to your assets, and then track and trace your overall commissioning process, and it works end-to-end like really, really well. Project lifecycle information management and overall reporting. Sorry, I've just got quite a few slides left, so I'm going to try and speed through this a little bit. So I think this is probably the more important part for some of you. So I'm just going to quickly go over some of the things that we do. So project reviews, you can read through the comments on there, but we use the reviews process on BIM 360, which is really nice. You can customize it, you can set it up how you want. So in terms of the process and procedures, we have a set of standard review processes that we do across COLT, and they're all the same across each of our regions that we deliver projects in. The only time we change them a little bit is to do with nuances of the location and the way contracts and things like that work. So for example, France is quite different to the way the UK works, so we have to be a little bit flexible with the way we set it up. Again, as I mentioned before, if any of you have any questions about the more technical side of things, just ask me afterwards or add me on LinkedIn, and if you want to ask me any questions, I will talk you through it. I'm going to skip over meetings and model coordination, to be honest, because I think it's kind of covered by one of the other presentations. I'll just touch upon it very, very briefly. Yeah, I'll touch upon it briefly. So we use the live model sharing, coordination and reviews. So although I've took the badges off, this is a live project. So as you can see, the MEP, the civil and structural and the architectural models during the design phase are getting shared very rapidly, very often. We then, they're all linked through Revit, so they live link the models between the design teams. So they have a live up-to-date version of the model, which then has improved the overall quality of the models. And when we're doing our QA/QC checks, which is this little image at the bottom, as you can see, there are more green lights than red, which means it's working, or we like to think it is. So we do that obviously outside of the model coordination area, but we set that standards at the start. So where I talk about processes and procedures being really important, we send this out to our team so they know what we're checking, so they know what we expect from the model. So when I talk about processes and procedures being important, that's a prime example. So yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the commissioning process, and then I'll try and get, oh, it's moving again now. Right, okay. So process and procedures, commissioning, assets, and O&M handover. So what you can see here is a live example again of one of our projects that we've just handed over. At the top, the images of the checklist. So all that this basically is a digital form of have you done this, yes or no, basically, for the commissioning process. So dead easy to fill out. We have a really good use case of this in France, where one of our GCs basically refused to use it, and they wanted to do the traditional, go out on the site, fill out the piece of paper in Word, go back to the office, scan it, and then upload it directly to the asset. They were happy to do that. And then we just basically coaxed them and said, just give it a go once. 3 months later, the commissioning process, S-curve, shot up because they started using BIM 360. And now they use it every day. And they love using it because it saves them time. And this is obviously something that's really important. It saves them time, which I'm not doing for you lot at the minute because I'm going, taking this overtime. And then at the bottom, as you can see, when the assets are completed, all the all the documentation that is related to operations and maintenance are linked to the documents. Unfortunately, that example there isn't the best, and they're not named as per ISO 19650, but we're getting there. So I'm just going to skip over the last couple and then just quickly jump to locations and then do a wrap up, because I know we're well over, aren't we? So sorry about this. Technical difficulties. Process. Oh, no, not that one. One more. So locations. Geographical locations are ways of working. So key to collaboration and working effectively in different areas is understanding the markets and differences these can range from. So we talked about legal differences, type of contract, obviously different delivery methods. So you've heard about IPD and stuff like that today. Cultural differences, which is a massive one, because different cultures, different ways of working. So like us in this room, if we're conversing, I'll probably talk, you might interrupt halfway through and start talking back to me. In Japan, no, you can't do that. You talk, they wait, think about what you said, they then retort. So it's learning stuff like that and how people work differently. So not necessarily better, but different. And how far they are along their digital and BIM journey. And this one's a massive one, the last one, because globally, very different. Japan, 4 or 5 years behind the UK and Europe, I would say, roughly. But at COLT, it's all about us trying to get them to go on the journey and pulling them up and getting them up to speed. So just to wrap up, so what we talked about at the moment, or what I've tried to cover in this session, is how COLT leverages ACS to optimize project collaboration. So the key points are: pick the right team, get your systems and processes in place, follow them, don't deviate from them, but be open to change them, to innovate, adapt and improve. So when I say change them, I don't mean completely rewrite them, I mean tweak them for the purpose. They're not always, when you have global standards, they don't always work across the board. There are things that you need to change slightly. Utilize a platform to improve the management of your projects. So there are a lot of tools that are available at your disposal using BIM 360. I've been using it for about 9 years now, maybe longer. So if you ever want to know anything about the platform, I can probably give you a few insights. Utilize the platform, peoples and tools at your disposal to overcome challenges and change. And this is a key one, is change in the industry. We see a lot of it. So we need to start being more adaptable to change and respond to change accordingly. And then adapt the system in yourselves to the location and ways of working. What I'm going to do, because I'm sure you've all got questions, is just leave some of the quotes up in the background for some of the teams that we work with, to give you an idea of not only what I think of BIM 360, but also what they think of it. So I'll just leave that there. Sorry for going over time, and I'll leave it open to some questions, if there are any. That's good. Yeah. We have, yeah. Yeah, yep, correct. Collaborated the best, I would probably say our UK projects have collaborated the best. Probably because they're more used to BIM 360. Like, for example, Black and White, they're now rolling it out across the board in their company, so they're used to it. In terms of like taking to BIM 360, I would say Japan, we've had some real success stories there because they're a little bit more technologically behind, and they've gone, oh wow, this does everything. Like, yeah, we want this is great. So we've had companies, big companies that work there, like Nikken, for example. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them, pretty big out in Japan. They're really big advocates of it, and we've had a lot of collaboration sessions with them about BIM 360 and about BIM. So I would say that's more the success story, but the UK, I think we're probably working better, more collaboratively on the platform. So, yeah, long answer, John, but hopefully you got what you wanted. All good? Cool. We'll wrap up there. So, yeah, thank you everyone for staying. I'm sure you're all hungry, so I'll let you all go now. Cheers. Thank you.